Do you ever feel overwhelmed when you are faced with a complex problem? I hope to change that in less than 3 minutes, and I hope to convince you that complexity doesn't always mean that complicated. So for me, crafted baguette, fresh out of the oven is complicated, but curry onion, green olive, poppy cheese bread is complicated. I'm an ecologist. I study nature and I study complexity. I love complexity and I study in nature, and I study in nature world, interconnectedness of species. So here is a food web or a map of feeding links between species that live in alpine lakes in mountains of California. And this is what happens to that food web when it's stacked with the non-native fish that have never lived there before. So all the grayed out species disappear, and some are actually on the brink of extinction, and the lakes with fish have more mosquitoes even though they eat them, and these are all unanticipated, and yet we're discovering they're predictable. So I want to share with two key insights about complexity we are learning from studying nature that maybe are applicable to other problems. So first is the simple power of good visualization tools that help untangle complexity and encourage you to ask questions that you didn't think of before. So for example, you could plot the flow of carbon through corporate supply chains and a corporate ecosystem, or interconnection of species, habitat patches for endangered species in Yosemite National Park. Second thing is that if you want to predict and if you focus only on that link and then black box the rest, it's actually less predictable than you step back and look at the entire system, all the species, all the links, and from that place, hone in on the sphere of influence. And we are discovering with our research that it's often very local to the knows that you care about within 2 or 3 degrees. So the more you can step back, embrace the complexity, the better chance you have of finding simple answers that matters most. So let's change the gears and look at a very complicated, very complex problem, courtesy of the U.S. government. This is a diagram of the U.S. counterinsurgency strategy in Afghanistan, and that is actually a front page of the New York Times a couple of months ago, and instantly ridiculed by the media for being so crazy complicated, and their stated goal was to increase popular support for the Afghan government. So clearly complex, but is it complicated? Well, when I saw that, I thought, great, finally something I can relate to. I can sink my teeth into this. So let's do it. Here we go. For the first time ever, premiere view of this spaghetti diagram as an order network. So now we can look at 1 degrees, 2 degrees, 3 degrees away from that node. So here is the circled node is the one we are trying to do. The popular support for the government, and now we can look 1 degrees, 3 degrees, 1 degrees, 2 degrees, 3 degrees away from that node, and eliminate 3/4 of this diagram outside the sphere of influence. Within that sphere, most of these nodes are not actionable, like the harshness of the terrain and a very small minority are actual military actions, and most are non-violent, and they fall into one of these two broad categories. So active engagement with ethnic rivalries and religious beliefs, and a fair, transparent economic development and provisioning of services. So I don't know about this, but this is what I can decipher from this diagram in 24 seconds. If you see a diagram like this, I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be excited. I want you to be relieved, because this is so simple answers might emerge. We are discovering in nature, and complexity often lies on the other side of and simplicity often lies on the other side of complexity. So the more you can zoom out and embrace complexity, the better chance you have of zooming in on the simple details that matter most.